being an Israelite in the time of Jesus had nothing to do with God and His purpose. And that's the message of this secret one who wasn't for the people, who wasn't for Israel, who wasn't for the Jews, who didn't strengthen their agreement that they were good, that they were favored, that they were blessed. Because they turned it in to their own thing, their own gain, their own system. They owned it. They turned it into something they could own. And God said, I don't care about your stupid systems, just like He says it today. I don't care about your stupid systems. I don't care about your religions. I don't care about your little communities whereby you think you're favored and blessed and good because you all agree that you are. I don't care about your declarations that I only act a certain way all the time because I do whatever I want to do. I'm not at your mercy. I don't act the way you want me to act. That's your pathetic human heart that's bound to these hopes of finding that control and needing to find that control and finding it. That's what happened all the time. At a certain point, God just said, forget it. I don't need to deal with these humans anymore. My Son is with me. From these humans came my Son. Not just from these humans, but from this group. The reason I made Abraham to be a particular people, so that from them my Son would come. And here is my Son. My Son is with me now. I don't have to deal with these pathetic, evil animals who always find their own sense of goodness, who always find a way to make their own system, their own institution, just that, their own. Something that they can control. Something that they could have power over. They could have the say over it. They can appoint their own leaders that have nothing to do with me, that they can look at and say, there's our leader. We don't want a leader we can't see. We hate a God we can't control and we can't see. That's what happened all the time. That's what happened to the Israelites as soon as they came out of Egypt. We don't want a God we can't see. We want this thing we can see and control. That's what happened in the first century. The things that were happening that are written about by Paul, even in this letter to the Corinthians, things that were happening were out of the human's control. Supernatural things were happening, were driving what was going on. But the humans couldn't handle that. They didn't want it. They never wanted it. So they created their own system. And even in this letter to the Corinthians, you can start to see the power of humanity consolidating itself against that supernatural power that had been initiated by God. The prophets heard a word, and they knew it was genuine. And they spoke against the animals and what they were doing and what they had created. It's a theme in the words. It's a theme that runs through all the words, that the animals create something that's against God. That's what the story of the ark is all about. It's about the people and what they do. That's the story of the Tower of Babel. And the people, when they conspire together to create a group that they think is going to take them to God. That's just exactly what all these little religions are. Little towers of Babel. They're agreement. They're working together and saying, we can get to God by building our little infrastructure, our little group. That's what everything's about. That's the message. That the humans turn bad. So, groups of humans are naturally bad. There is no group of humans that's good, because they always turn and resort to the same thing. Always. That's the message. Over and over and over it happened. With Noah. With the Tower of Babel. With the 11 sons of Israel, of Jacob himself. They conspired together to say, we want our purpose to be done, and this guy who says he hears what is genuine needs to get out. That's the message. The humans together, conspiring together, are against God. It doesn't matter what words you plaster on it. Christian, Christadelphian, Mormon, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim. Doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's all exactly the same as the stories, what the stories present, the idea that's underneath, the psychology that's within. And it isn't completely hidden, because if we have any balls, if we have any courage whatsoever, we can examine ourselves and see that tendency in ourselves. We can see how agreeing with a group or finding a group makes us feel safe. Part of some group that claims to be viable, claims to be able to get us somewhere. We're going to heaven. We're building this thing and it's going to take us to God. So let's all pitch in. And on the surface, it all appears good. Of course. We're doing God's will. We're blessed by God because we do what God wants. We're being obedient to God. And it's such a thrill because of the agreement, because that's what the animal heart loves. That agreement. And when there's this intention to get to God, I mean, that just makes it all the better. That makes it better than the rifle club. It makes it better than the quilting group. But in reality, it's all the same.